Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. You know, since I started the YouTube channel, I've really had a lot of videos that I've done on ways to keep your wacky rig on your hook. What is the best way to connect your wacky rig? And we know that the wacky rig is one of the best fish catching techniques that we have. It catches numbers of fish, it catches big fish, it works pretty much year round. The biggest issue we have when you hook a wacky rig is the fact that they come off very easily if you do not have something to keep it on your hook. And by that, what I mean is some people use O-rings, some people use plastic tubing, some people have harnesses. There's a lot of different things that you can put on or into your worm that will allow it to stay on your hook better. Because when you're on a good wacky worm bite, it is nothing to blow through packs of whatever soft stick bait or worm it is that you're using if you're not using a device to keep it on there. If you're using, say, an O-ring, at that point, you may catch 10 fish on that bait. If you're using, any of the other techniques, yes, you can keep your worm on, but there is a constant discussion as to what's the best way to keep your wacky worm on your hook. And I know it sounds like something that is over talked about, but there really are new contraptions coming out for this issue on probably a monthly basis. I mean, there are so many new things coming out, it's hard to keep up with it. And I've recently done videos talking about 4 or 5 different techniques that I like to use to keep the worm on the hook. But one thing that's come out that's somewhat recent is a specific small spring that you use to keep your worm on your hook. Specifically here, it's this decoy worm holder spring. So it's literally like a giant, screw lock is really kind of what it is. It's just a big long spring. And this is something that I've tinkered with because this has been out now probably, I'm going to say since the beginning of the year, maybe a little bit before that. But it's a pretty cool technique, and it's one that I've found to work really, really well. So all you do is take your spring and screw it into your worm. So you're just going to give it a few turns until it comes up to about, right at the beginning of the other side. So you can see it just starting to poke through. I've got it there. And at that point, then you just take your needle nose pliers or whatever device you have and then cut off the back side of that. If I can find the cut. So you'll cut it off and you'll finish it off by screwing in that last little bit like so. And then you take whatever hook that you're using. And by the way, guys, let me know in the comment section what your favorite weedless wacky worm hook is. I am experimenting with almost every hook on the market right now because I have yet to find one that I really feel like is truly weedless, but at the same time does not interfere with your landing percentage. I find that either the weed guards are too soft, in which case you get stuck still, or they're too stiff where it actually prevents you from hooking the fish as well or backs the hook out. So let me know in the comment section what you're using. I just got a bunch of different ones in. This is a decoy one. I got some owner ones, various ones I'm going to try. Back to this contraption is you take your hook and you're going to hook it right through the center of that spring, and therefore you've got a good way of keeping it on. The bait still moves a little bit, but it will not come up and around the bend of the hook because the length of the spring keeps it where it needs to be. So it holds up really, really well. It's something that's relatively new. I know some people have talked about using like springs from pens. I personally think you could probably still use some different types of screw locks and different types of small screws, but these are made specifically for the wacky worm and screwing into the worm. So they've got a really good amount of separation between the springs. So there's no messing around. They're relatively cheap, but they hold up really well. So this is something I'd love to know too, guys. Have you been using these worm holder decoy springs or other types of springs, do you think that they hold up as good as O-rings or some of the other different terminal tackle items that keep the worm on? For me, the biggest thing when wacky worming is I want a couple of things. I want my bait and the hook shank to be perpendicular to each other. I do not want the hook shank or the point of the hook to be in line with the worm. I think that that really costs you some of your hooking percentage. And at the same time, I want that worm to be able to slide a little bit on the hook. And you can see that happens here. So if I was using this on a worm hook that was not weedless, this would slide all the way up and over onto my line. So it would slide up my line, which I personally like, because when I'm fighting a fish, if you move the weight of the bait away from the fish and have just the bare hook in the fish's mouth, they have a lot less leverage when they come up and jump and they try to, you know, shake the hook free. They just have a much harder time shaking that hook free. So this is something that I've been experimenting with. I've had really good success, and I'd love to know what you guys have to say. So I'll put the link up for these so you guys can go check them out and see the specifics on them yourself in the description of the video. Yeah, man, it's just something that, you know, the wacky worm technique is such a good, versatile technique, and it's something that it seems so simple, but yet we have so many new contraptions coming out to keep them on your line because it is such a good technique. You can blow through packs and packs of worms. So if you've got a good way of keeping them on the hook, I'd love to hear that as well. Otherwise, guys, just a short, simple video. So stay tuned. We'll have more coming out. If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And yeah, stay tuned. We got more videos coming out tomorrow.